Beyond Light is going to be one of the more significant updates to Destiny 2 that we've had since launch, and in this video, I wanted to jump in and focus on everything that we know about changes to the way that we play and earn rewards in Destiny 2 Beyond Light. And while it's safe to say there is a lot of expansion and season-specific content which hasn't been revealed yet, we have still had a significant number of changes broken down across various press releases, reveals, and Bungie updates. So if you guys want to recap on major changes that we're going to be seeing to Destiny 2 in the fall of this year, we'll discuss lesser mentioned title changes, a bunch of Sandbox and Kiosk updates, as well as changes to game modes, rewards, and ritual pursuits, and then some promising changes to the game which have yet to be fully revealed. And so it should give us a better picture of how the game is going to be more broadly changing in the fall. But first guys, this video does have a sponsor, and we're going to talk about Raid Shadow Legends. It's probably a game you've heard about a few times already, and you can play right now for free on mobile and PC. And Raid is about as MMORPG as you really get for a mobile game. Champions have quite a few skills and upgrades, plus there are like 500 of them, with additional artifacts and attributes that mix up gameplay. There is both a PvE and PvP element to Raid Shadow Legends, so starting out in campaign is a pretty good bet, because you can earn loads of XP, shards, and silver that help you progress, and the game does actually reward time investment pretty nicely. If we take some of the items that we've earned to the portal, we can acquire new champions by spending various shard types that we earn in game, and then in the tavern, we can further upgrade our champion ranks or skills, even by sacrificing champions to donate XP to a target champion. Plarium have also just added a forge to craft new artifacts in their September update, so with all those neat upgrades, if you want a bit more challenge, there's the PvP arena, which has its own ranking system that can improve champion stats, but also a whole load of weekly rewards to unlock. I even have a clan in the game called House of Hounds, so you can probably join if you're quick, and find me in game with nickname houndish_YouTube. But be sure to use my link below, because if you download the game on PC or mobile, you'll get some awesome rewards in your inbox, and if you redeem them within 30 days, you'll unlock 50,000 silver, 50 gems, 5 mystery shards, and a special unlock for the support champ Hexweaver to get you going. Additionally, if you guys finish the tutorial, you'll get a special thank you in an upcoming video, because it really does support me on the channel, and there's a neat live counter in the description below showing our progress. Plus, you might even see your name there if you join as well. So thank you once again to Raid Shadow Legends for sponsoring this video, and if you want to check the game out, all of the links are in the description box below. Okay, so let's jump in and talk about some of the changes that Bungie have discussed for Beyond Light. And going back in time, of course, Bungie revealed max power levels, or sunsetting for gear, the Destiny content vault, and they've spoken quite a bit about weapons and quests and things that'll be going into the vault. But they've discussed improvements to seasonal narrative, rewards, and activities remaining relevant for a year, as well, of course, as stasis. And so I'm going to link a couple of videos down below which do a pretty good job of rounding up some of that technical stuff. But here let's talk about some of the system and gameplay changes. And something Bungie spoke about earlier on this year is a new gameplay mechanism that provides players with a set of non-expiring and account-scoped objectives that are used to rank up the season pass. So the whole idea being that bounties won't be the primary focus in terms of gaining XP in the game, and Luke Smith had separately said something along the lines of having objectives on the season pass, which is this kind of milestone style system that Bungie are discussing here. It is, however, separate to bounty XP, so Bungie have pointed out that in Season 12, bounties will focus more on being an optional way to get additional XP or powerful gear by the way of challenges. And so that is something that's on the cards for Season 12. However, also, Luke Smith had said that starting soon, gilded titles is something that they're working on in the studio. And this was in reference to a suggestion from Dr. Lupo to have titles unlock at level 1, 2, 3, and 4, having a level up system or potentially a rarity of sorts. And so we could see some of the titles in the game, especially titles moving forward, broken down to have multiple different levels. And I think this would be a broadly pretty positive change, both in terms of more casual players being able to complete an easier set of objectives to earn a level 1 version of a title, but also at the other end, Bungie could create pretty extreme objectives to get a max level version of the title. So once again, these are pretty positive changes to progression, which Bungie have yet to give us more info about, but as they said, should be starting in the fall of this year. Now, many weeks ago, Bungie did give a few sandbox previews for changes to weapons that they'll be introducing in the fall. So initially for sniper rifles, especially with the popularity of things like Revoker and Beloved, they say they're specifically looking at how zoom translates into ease of use for snipers, and investigating specific choices that make choosing a sniper rifle zoom more of a decision. So definitely get ready for some scope changes and potentially more scope variety on sniper rifles after the fall of this year. Also, they've said that they're evaluating hand cannon subfamilies. So recently DMG did tease changes to 110 hand cannons. We're going to get more details about all of these weapon sandbox changes, especially in October, so maybe in a couple of weeks' time. But they also gave the example that they're breaking out aggressive hand cannons to make it easier to tune the range independently of other other archetypes. But also for adaptive frame auto rifles, they say they don't want to undo the buff that they've had previously, but they will be adjusting the tuning to try and bring them in line a little bit with other auto rifles in the game. Also very recently, despite the fact that they're sunsetting many of these weapons, which means they won't be able to be infused to current maximum power levels, they are going to be tuning Mountaintop, and so despite the power change, the weapon will also be made generally less obnoxious, especially for PvP. Now, a layer that'll be curious to players in general, but also to newer players, will be the Memorial Kiosk. And so Bungie said for legacy exotics, and exotics which come from quests that'll be taken out of the game, for any exotic quest that's been vaulted, the reward itself will then become available through a new Memorial Kiosk, which is situated among the vault kiosks in the tower. They do describe it as an exotic archive, and they also confirm that Anarchy and Taraba, two vaulted raid exotics, will also be earnable via the kiosk. But while we don't have additional details on precisely what that means, they have emphasized a couple of times the word earnable and not purchasable, so I'm sure to protect the integrity of these exotics, there will be a few objectives there, depending on which exotics you want to pick up. Bungie have a bunch of changes planned for various different playlists, and initially, in Year 4, we're going to have one version of Gambit. They've removed armor perks from Gambit Prime armor that we got back in Season of the Drifter, replaced the Taken Captain from the blocker lineup with a Phalanx, and have removed the 20-mote giant blocker. For Gambit Invasions, they've changed the minimum time between invasions during the mote phases from 10 to 20 seconds, and so invades at that phase will be a little bit less potent. And then for the Gambit boss fight, they've removed the Time Slayer buffs, increased primeval health and potency of the Slayer buff given when killing envoys. And envoys will spawn at every 40% damage done to the primeval, and so it means you can stack a higher buff right there to do more damage. And that's also a recovery mechanic if your boss is healed a bunch. And they say that the match lengths should be somewhere in between original Gambit and Prime. And so important things to think about on the front of Gambit there. But they also point out that the Gambit maps Cathedral of Scars and Kelsgrave are both being moved into the Destiny content vault. And so Emerald Coast, Legion's Folly, Deep Six, and New Arcadia will be the featured Gambit maps initially. For the Strikes playlist, Bungie are essentially removing the traditional Nightfall and replacing it with either Vanguard Strikes or the Nightfall Ordeal. Both playlists will still have weekly challenges for powerful gear, and the Ordeal will continue to feature matchmaking at lower difficulties, with more rewards for higher difficulty versions. And separately, Bungie have said that they are looking to add adept weapons to Strikes in a future season. And it's looking like Season 13 could be when we get those. And so Strike unique rewards potentially in the form of adept weapons is something else that's going to be on the cards. Importantly, with the Cosmodrome being expanded, we are going to see the Will of Crota strike. And Europa is going to have a strike which hasn't been revealed yet. And then otherwise, we are going to keep all of the strikes in the game, with the exception of those associated with Vaulted Planets. So Pyramidion, Festering Core, as well as Satherthan's Song on Titan, and then Strange Terrain and Will of the Thousands on Mars, followed by Tree of Probabilities and A Garden World on Mercury. All of them are going to be going out of the game. Last but not least, of course there is the Crucible, and hopefully Bungie will have additional changes and things to discuss. But for this video we do know about playlist updates that we'll see. So Crucible Director is going to be updated to reduce the number of playlists available at any time, and featured modes will consist of Control, Elimination, Rumble, and Survival, both in the traditional and freelance format. And then there'll be a weekly rotating playlist consisting of Clash, Mayhem, and Showdown. Of course, private matches will remain available, and then Iron Banner is still going to be a thing, but in Season 12, a freelance version of Iron Banner is going to be introduced into the game, and that means if you're playing solo, you can go into that playlist to play only with other players who are playing solo. I'm sure a lot of players will look forward to that, but of course there is Trials of Osiris, and a change that was brought forward would be adept weapons. Originally, Bungie had said that these will arrive in Season 13, but they've said that for those who reach the Lighthouse during Season 12, you'll be able to unlock adept weapons, and more details on how these work will drop in a Sandbox preview planned for October. And that suggested that there could be certain mods and bonuses available on these weapons, essentially something to make them stand out from other weapons, on top of having the name Adept next to them. Importantly for Crucible maps, Meltdown, Solitude, Retribution, The Citadel, Emperor's Respite, Equinox, Eternity, Firebase Echo, Gambler's Ruin, Legion's Gulch, and Vostok are all going to be moving into the Destiny content vault. If it isn't on the list, it'll still be around in November, and that would be the same for the PvP modes Supremacy, Countdown, Lockdown, Breakthrough, Doubles, Momentum Control, and Scorched, all of which are going into the Destiny content vault as well. Bungie did say, however, the Momentum Control and Scorched should return to the vault at some time during year 4. But for all these playlists with their changes, there are going to be some new rewards to chase. And these are things that Bungie have revealed a little bit more recently, but they are adding a new set of armor for core playlists. And we can see that they have decals and shaders specific to either Strikes, Crucible, or Vanguard. The first set drops in November of this year, but Bungie have said they want to introduce a new set every single year. And then of course they are introducing a weapon pursuit as well. And so Bungie is going to give us a choice between Strikes, Crucible, or Gambit to earn the base model of the weapon. And the first one we'll get is of course the Adored Sniper. But once the base weapon is earned, you can complete a secondary quest from Shaxx, Zavala, or the Drifter, which will reward us with a weapon ornament to the theme of the respective activity. And you can complete all 3 of the quests if you want to. On the subject of loot and updates that we'll see on that front, skipping back to Trials for a second, but while we are getting adept weapons in Season 12, it appears that Bungie's plan of introducing new Trials armor in Season 13 is still something they're going to be adhering to for now. However, they have promised a series of aspirational loot changes, so of course that would include the adept weapons for Trials, as well as for Strikes. But Bungie also said that D2's next raid will have brand new armor, weapons, and exotic accessories to pursue. And so we shouldn't be seeing any kind of majorly reskinned gear or repurposed stuff dropping from that raid. Of course that'll be the Deepstone Crypt raid on Europa, but it should be packed with brand new rewards. Finally, we get to the Eververse portion here, and starting in Season 12, Bungie have said that they're no longer selling ships, ghost shells, sparrows, or armor ornaments in Eververse that are visually based on themes from aspirational activities. And so seeing a ghost shell that looks like it's from the Scarlet Keep set of gear, for example, or an ornament for a weapon like the Adored, especially with that Leviathan theme, Bungie have said that these aren't things they plan to introduce into the store in year 4, but also that they're going to move away from character-specific ways to earn Bright Dust, and more towards an account-specific path, but also to update the Bright Engram to be more relevant than it is right now. So it's going to include various Year 3 Eververse items previously sold for silver and Bright Dust, and that Bright Engram will be updated each season to include Eververse items from 3+ seasons prior. And so those are all of the system changes that we currently know of in the game. That is with the exception, of course, of the list of specific items that are coming in and out of the game with the Content Vault. But the other major thing that we don't really know anything about just yet, of course, is transmogrification. Bungie have said that this will allow players to turn their armor into universal ornaments, and they plan to allow players to do this with an in-game effort or with silver, but that the feature is in very early development and is expected sometime during year 4. Bungie have maintained that they don't have any info on this currently, so it definitely isn't something that we're going to see in the fall of this year. But of course it could be a pretty important feature if implemented correctly, and it's something else to look forward to during the course of year 4, and that is alongside additional reprised content like the Vault of Glass, and Bungie expanding on the Cosmodrome. But initially, for new light players, there is the benefit of having things like the Morro Kiosk to get older exotics, but also the Cosmodrome will be used early on in year 4, for what Bungie are saying is an improvement to the Beyond Light Guardian story and some of the content associated with that. And so there are definitely some positives, and I'd be curious to get your thoughts, as always, in the comment section, guys. But for today, that's everything that we have to speak about in this one. Just an opportunity to round up a bunch of the stuff that you may be wondering about for the start of year 4. But once again, if you want more specifics on the content going away, and of course reveals for Stasis, the brand new kind of icy darkness subclasses in Beyond Light, you can find links for all of that down below. But otherwise, if you have found the recap useful, guys, a rating below really helps me out. Give us any of your thoughts on the changes most important to you, or additional stuff that you'd like to see in Beyond Light. But if you're new to the channel, get subscribed as well, and turn on those notifications so that I can keep you posted as soon as we get new Destiny content. But otherwise, for now guys, I hope you have an awesome day.